Where we're now on day 3 of that massive fire out of that recycling plant there. Authorities are giving an update right now. Let's listen in.
In accessing assistance, the Red Cross has been helping out, as well as local churches. Our township trustee, they've been providing food, shelter, and necessities for the citizens that have been displaced or are in need right now. Also, we have assembled a thorough list of resources on our city website. That is richmondindiana.gov. Again, richmondindiana.gov. And right there on the front page, you'll see a link to those resources. If you don't have internet access, the number to call is 973-9300. Again, that's 973-9300. There is a huge list of resources on the website. And if you call that number, that's our community hotline. They can help you access everything from food to shelter necessities, toiletries, and we have also been working with local EMA and our police officers to assist citizens in getting rides to their homes in the evacuation area if there are things they need from their home, and they've been assisting with that, so a big thanks to them. We did have a second minor firefighter injury last evening. A Dublin firefighter who was providing mutual aid to our fire department was overcome by heat. He was treated on the scene and then released from the scene yesterday evening, so I just want to make everyone aware of that. We're going to start with an update from our Richmond Fire Department Chief, Tim Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. My name is Tim Brown. I'm the Fire Department Fire Chief. Today, our strategies and tactics have changed a little bit. We have focused more on going inside the hot zone and with track hose and bulldozers, turning things over and applying foam to extinguish the fire. I am happy to say that we have it 90%, it may be a little bit more out, and we're hoping to have the fire close to 98-99% out sometime this evening, and if not, tomorrow morning. Once the sun goes down, I limit our firefighters from going inside to the hot zone due to visibility and the trip hazards and not having lighting. So we scale our operations back a little bit at night. However, in the daytime, we are aggressive. And I would really like to thank our firefighters for what they've done. They've done a remarkable job keeping this fire on the complex itself and not letting it extend past that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I'd like to now bring up John Duke from Wayne County Emergency Management.
John Duke, Deputy Director of Wayne County Emergency Management. Thank you all. I first need to talk about sheltering. I need to remind the residents that sheltering is available. The shelter is being operated at Oak Park Pentecostal Church at 1920 Chester Boulevard. It is staffed and run by the Red Cross. The American Red Cross and Bread Box are serving meals at this shelter. Food items such as drinks and food are available for distribution to displaced residents. To arrange transportation to this shelter, call Roseview Transit or call the Community Helpline 973-9300. Anyone that has been displaced and needs assistance with a dog may call Abington Pines Kennels. Please call them. They must be current on their shots, and you must provide food for them. And their phone number is 765-855-1000. If a resident or displaced person has questions, again, the community helpline is 973-9300. Any resident who has been displaced and needs to return to their residence for critical or an essential item such as medication, medication or clothes to go back to work or anything like that, please call the please call 973-9399 to arrange an escort for that. You will be given some simple instructions to report to the Dollar General on Northwest 5th Street. An officer will meet you there, escort you to the address. You will have a short amount of time to retrieve your items and then be escorted back out of the area. Residents who do go will be required to wear an N95 mask while in transport. I must commend the Richmond Fire Department on a heroic stop. This fire was very large. Their professionalism and dedication to the community definitely does not go unnoticed. I also would like to thank the county fire departments who have assisted the response efforts here in this massive fire. The resilience of the community, the business support, and the response efforts and assistance to the displaced community is an acknowledgement of our community and our commitment. So I want to thank everyone. Thank you.
Our Richmond Sanitation District has done quite a bit of work to monitor drainage and to help to sequester and filter that drainage. And so I want to bring forward Richmond Sanitation District Director Pat Smoker to speak a little more about that.
Pat Smoker, Director of Sanitation. The Sanitary District closed its landfill and ceased trash collection yesterday, but has resumed that as of today. Speaking of water runoff, there is a possibility that some of the water from the site made its way through internal site drains to the Sanitary District's wastewater treatment plant. We have no way to clearly identify this yet. There have, however, been no noticed changes in the treatment plant influent or treatment. Early on 4/11, the Sanitary District identified the storm outlet where runoff water from the site would go. We began testing with assistance from IDEM and EPA the river outlet that day. On the morning of 4/12, began testing our routine river and tributary sites that were under or near the plume in case of fallout. To date, all of the samples for which we readily have results from the river and tributaries has come back within normal background range with no elevated differences between upstream and downstream sites. We have not yet received results on our organic and metal testing. We have monitored the river for several miles south and no fish or wildlife kills have been found. The district has a partnership with USGS and has a super gauge just downstream of the outfall that monitors several parameters continuously. This data has been reviewed and shows no changes to typical ranges at any point in time during the event. To date, all of the samples for which we readily have results at the outfall itself has shown results within range of what we would see under a typical combined sewer overflow event, and these values are trending towards baseline river results. Flows from the outfall have been low and actions have been taken to minimize soot and floating debris. The district is working with IDEM and EPA to come up with how the site and runoff will be handled once the fire is out, but before the cleanup is complete.
I would now like to bring forward Christine Stinson. She is the Director of the Wayne County Health Department.
Good afternoon. I just want to reiterate to the community that we are analyzing all of the data that's coming in, both from air sampling and water sampling, and looking at that, making sure things are safe for people to be in their homes, and when they should be sheltering in place, and we've yet to lift the evacuation orders, so staying out of the evacuation orders. Those are put in place for the safety and protection of our community. And I again want to say, if you're smelling smoke, if you're seeing smoke, then you're in that plume. And today was a perfect example. That plume was shifting a little bit, so that plume shifted a little bit, and people that may have not experienced the smoke, all of a sudden we're experiencing the smoke. So if you do practice that sheltering in place, where you shut your windows, limit opening and closing of the door, shut up your HVAC system, and limit your activities outside. If you are outside, and we know a lot of people, have things that they gotta get done outside, wear a mask. We have N95 masks at the health department, free, available to the community that can stop in and get those. Again, we're working with our partners to analyze all of the analytics from air sampling and water sampling, and we'll continue to do so to work with our partners. I do want to take a moment and thank all of you, the media, for coming out here. Really, without you being the messenger to getting our message out, it just kind of would be stagnated here in the air and we'd be talking to ourselves. So I appreciate all of you coming and covering this story so that information gets out to the community and those that need this information. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. And I know that Ms. Denson and the health department are also working with some local organizations to put together cleanup kits so that when people are able to return to their home, they'll be providing cleanup kits. So when they go in, they'll have all the necessary materials to get their homes cleaned back up, and they'll assist with that. Once they get that together, and more information on that will be available through the community helpline, which is again 973-9300. I'd like to now bring Jason Sewell up from the EPA.
Good afternoon. I'm Jason Sewell with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. I'd like to point out we're coordinating on all of our public messaging with all the response partners here. I would like to bring your attention to know the EPA does have a public website for this site. That is response.epa.gov/mytradingwarehouse. Overnight, smoke and wind changed from an area that was going northeasterly from the fire site to more of the northerly site. And that was impacting new people who might not have been smelling smoke the day before. There's also, with temperature cooling fire conditions, as we had expected, there's more ground level smoke overnight than there was the prior day. You can see today as the temperatures warmed up, the smoke is generally dissipated at the ground level and going more up, mostly in an upward direction. For all of the air monitoring EPA has conducted to date, we have 34 locations where we have roving personnel going and taking repeat instrument collections at each of these locations for a total of 76 visits and 721 discrete measurements. We have, so far, all of those results the same as yesterday. We are seeing particulate matter, which is to be expected when smoke is present, but we have not detected any of the other compounds that we're analyzing for at this time. We have collected several air samples that went off for laboratory analysis. One sample was collected right at the fire site. It was what we call a grab sample. We just filled up the sample collection can. We sent it to the lab. It's intended to tell us what our potential contaminants of concern are. It's not meant to be representative of what people are being exposed to. Remember, this is at the fire site, not outside the evacuation zone and out in the community itself. However, we do have those results. We'll be sharing those results, and we did detect volatile organic compounds in fire smoke. So volatile organic compounds is a class of chemicals that includes many distinct ingredients and many consumer products that we all handle on a day-to-day basis. For instance, gasoline, for instance, many cleaners, polishes, and other things. So we do come into contact with these materials on a routine basis. We have also collected an air sample over a 24-hour period near the Reed Hospital. Those results will probably be back tomorrow. Those results will be shared with the public health agencies to put some context. So again, that would be a sample that would be more representative of someone's personal exposure out in an area where there may be ground level smoke. So again, we'll get those results back. You'll have to be patient with us while we share those with, again, the public health agencies, and they look to see what was detected and determine what is a reasonable reference level to compare that number to. We also collected 2 samples for asbestos-containing material analysis. These were samples of bulk debris that had flown away from the fire site and were collected off-site, roughly within a mile and a half. Of those 2 samples, one of the samples was positive for chrysotile asbestos. And so we went to reiterate our instructions from yesterday. Probably the worst thing you could do if you have debris in your yard, and again, this is for people who may have been downwind, where debris may have accumulated in your yard, the worst thing you could do would be to mow and break up that material and aerosolize it where you may inhale it. So please, keeping with our instructions from yesterday, if you think you have a debris in your yard, Don't disturb the debris for now. Avoid mowing until we come out with more instructions on outdoor cleanup. Okay. That's all I had prepared at the moment. Sure.
Well, the fire is still not completely extinguished, so our first responders are still in danger as they continue to put this fire out. So it's too early yet to really look forward, but I do want to take this opportunity to really thank and commend our fire department and surrounding fire departments. They did a phenomenal job in containing that fire within the site when it was very close to a residential area and could have very easily caused a lot of residential damage, and they did a tremendous job. They've been working very hard around the clock. I want to thank all of our citizens and businesses that have supported our fire department, our city team, all of the agencies involved, and all of the affected citizens who have been displaced or otherwise needed things. So we are a resilient community. We're a community of solidarity, and every time we get into a difficult time here in Richmond, we all come together and help each other. And it's been very heartwarming to see everyone lending a hand, helping out, and supporting one another through this. So at this time, we will take questions from you and try to answer some of the questions that you have. Yes.
Mayor, hi, Maggie Vesco with NBC. This might be a two-parter question for the EPA and the Health Department. First, from the EPA, could you drill down a little more, just kind of in layman's terms? Everybody wants to know about the cancer-causing toxins. Were those detected? And either way, what do these test results say about how safe people are, and what might they say about the timeline of the evacuation orders?
Sure. So again, I'll point back to we will be releasing the air sample results we have. So I had a chance to look at them, and again, to see that we did detect some volatile organic compounds, but they really need to be put into context. So the sample we collected and we have reported today is not representative of anyone's exposure other than let's say firemen who are on site. So the results we receive tomorrow, we'll hopefully be reporting tomorrow, will be put into context by public health partners. So if there's any questions on cancer causing or health effects, those are going to be a public health department question.
So are you saying that has to do with the exposure in addition to what's there? The amount of exposure?
So the sample we took from the fire site was, again, we call it a grab. We just try and get a bulk, one-time grab sample of it just to see what's present. The sample collected from the hospital will have been slowly collected over a 24-hour period. And so that's, again, more representative than maybe an instantaneous breath of something versus having breathed it over 24 hours. So
can we say, effectively or not, have people in Richmond who are not firefighters been exposed to cancer-causing toxins at this point?
we are exposed to cancer-causing toxins on a day-to-day basis with consumer products. So I will tell you when the results come back from the hospital tomorrow, we'll know that for sure.
Did the wind play a factor in this at all, sir? Should surrounding farmers be concerned planting their crops this early in the season as well?
Well, the wind plays a factor in which direction the smoke goes, but I don't have any information this time whether farmers should be concerned.
And could I get the answer really quick on the evacuation orders too? I'm not sure.
Sure.
When can people go home?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
When might people expect to be able to go back to their homes if they're within the evacuation zone?
We're not totally positive yet. I want to get some air samples back and see what those say. I want to get the fire contained, or it's actually contained, but I want to get the fire extinguished. I want to get the plume taken care of to where it's not floating into the neighborhoods per se. So when we get those two elements taken care of, then we'll get together and make that decision.
Chief, I think this is a question for you. Are you able to tell us the scale of this fire, how big this facility was, what parts of it were actually burned and charred in this fire?
Well, it's a 13.8 acre facility. It had 6 buildings on the facility. Each one of those buildings was full of the plastics from floor to ceiling and wall to wall. And I would say 100% of that has been consumed.
Mayor Snow, the city bought 2/3 of the parcels the city deemed to be unsafe at tax sale in 2021. After that, did the city clean up those 2 parcels?
Yeah, the city attempted to initiate that cleanup, and we were impeded in that process. I actually have our city attorney, AJ Sickman, here. We have provided documents to the media for your reporting of the unsafe building order that came from our Unsafe Building Commission ordering that individual to clean up that mess. That then went into a court hearing where the court upheld that unsafe building order. And so to talk about that a little more and why the materials were still there and what impeded the cleanup. I'll bring up A.J. Sickman, city attorney for the city of Richmond.
Thank you. To answer your question, and as the the mayor previously noted, the Unsafe Building Commission process takes time, and then it goes through the litigation process, which, as you all know, takes time. And when we completed those processes, the focus shifted to how do we begin to remediate this problem, right? And so we saw an opportunity to secure 2 of the parcels through a tax sale process to eliminate interference from the business owner. And then we began the process of securing an EPA grant to help identify and categorize the materials. And then after that, we entered into an agreement with the business owner that would provide him the ability to remove these materials and sell them. He sells them overseas. And there were some moving parts. In addition to that, there was a bank that had security interests in all of these materials. So it wasn't as though the city could just go start removing these and disposing of them because of that collateral that the bank had. And so that was the plan. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, there became a down market, and the business owner had some difficulties in selling those materials, but was actively doing that, and the city was monitoring that process. Unfortunately, we weren't able to see that come to fruition prior to the fire event of this week.
Who's responsible for the cleanup of this stuff now?
I'm sorry?
Who's responsible for the cleanup of this once the fire's out?
The unsafe building order and the court order affirming that order continues to stand, so responsibility remains with the person that created the problem. Now, from a pragmatic perspective, the city's obviously involved and going to be cleaning this up. We're not going to let it sit in that state. It's going to be a process, but there will be an accountability component to this on the back end that we'll look at after we get through the process in which we're currently engaged.
Can somebody describe exactly what this waste was? Was it e-waste, and where did it come from?
I would have to defer to someone.
I don't know.
I'm assuming you guys have been in the building several times and you can see what it was. Can you describe what burned and where did it come from?
It was several types of plastics. It's a recycling and resale plastics company. I have no idea where it all came from. I know that the owner has brought it all in and just kind of lost control of the facility.
Plastics like what? Like barrels? Plastic? Describe what kind of plastics.
Any type of plastics that you would imagine was in this facility.
Do you guys know what, if any, legal liability this business owner might have after all of this?
Go ahead.
Yeah, as I mentioned, that's something that we are going to turn our focus to after the cleanup process is completed. My assessment of the sort of legal landscape that exists now is that you have the unsafe building order, you have a court order that says he's responsible and that the property is unsafe or was unsafe. So we will utilize those documents as a basis for legal liability going forward.
So taxpayers aren't going to feel the impacts of this fire on any of their bills?
On their bills,
like
I would.
Utility bills or anything that may come?
No, I certainly would not think that that would be the case.
Was that really quick civil or criminal liability?
I'm speaking to civil liability. Whether or not there could be potential criminal liability would be a question for law enforcement and prosecutors.
Has your office been in contact with the owner yet, sir? And if so, has he made any apology at all to the city for what's happened?
I have not had contact with the owner. No.
I had a question for Mr. Sewell about asbestos.
Yes, sir.
Quick. That's okay. You mentioned how debris has been found and you're warning residents not to mow their lawns if they see it. But I'm curious with some of the wind patterns that we've seen. I mean, how wide of a radius are we seeing this debris kind of fly throughout the community?
Looking to the distance and width of the debris is something we're looking into, so we don't know that at this time. I am aware there's people reporting debris as far out as across the Ohio border, but we haven't verified that. There would have been burned plastics that left the property as well, not just asbestos, so it's possible that there may be one type of debris show up on a property, not another.
So for the city, was this property in operation currently?
Only to the extent that we were permitting the property owner to remove existing materials so that we could ship those overseas pursuant to his normal process, but we were not permitting the property owner from adding additional materials to these properties. So that was the extent of the operation.
My question is, with all these ongoing code violations, the legal battle where you all wrote in court documents, fire hazard, you guys fear this exact scenario happening. Why did not the city just go in and shut this place down if there was that much of a concern for this exact scenario happening?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The city did. It prevented him from continuing to operate in his normal capacity. The only operation was removing these things to abate the fire hazards. And then once it was in a state where the city could come in and actually begin the removal process itself, that was the plan. But again, the fire event of this week interrupted that.
Was there a threshold or a pace that you all were holding you to? Because obviously, you know, you're trying to get him to remove stuff.
Yeah.
You have an impending potential fire hazard or emergency.
We were in constant communication throughout that process. We were sending out city officials from code enforcement, the fire department, to check on the status of the progress. I don't quote me here, but I'd say probably weekly.
Deadline, or that's more my question.
It was hard to specify a deadline because this was a massive undertaking. If you've seen the aerial photographs of this site, there's a lot of material there. So our deadline was just as fast as possible. We want to make sure you're continuing to work diligently.
And did you look at the possibility of maybe trying to take some of that out and spread it out so something like this didn't happen? Because it sounds to me like that's going to be the argument he's going to make is, you know, we were trying to get rid of it as fast as we can.
Yeah, that I would defer to Chief Brown on that. I don't.
The city of Richmond threatened to give me $2,000 a day fine for sticks in my yard. How many thousands of dollars did you guys threaten him with, or how many did you take from him?
Yeah, I can't specify off the top of my head what his total fines were, but that's information that we can make available. For this particular instance, and I understand your frustration, but for this particular instance, it was less about a monetary fine, although they're issued. It was more about remediating the problem that existed on the site.
It's a monetary fine.
I understand, sir.
So what do you say? Isn't it the city's responsibility?
I'm sorry?
What do you say to people who also feel like the city bears responsibility for this as well?
Well, the city didn't create this problem, and when it became aware of the magnitude of the issue, for me that was 2019, it immediately began the unsafe building process. And then as I talked about, there was the ensuing litigation. So as far as responsibility, legal responsibility is concerned, from a legal perspective, that remains with the property owner, and the court documents reflect that
And did
premise.
you guys try and get anything done with that material that was inside the building at that time?
I didn't hear either one of your questions.
Did you have anything? Did the city do anything to try and get some of that material out of those buildings at the time when you realized this was a safety hazard?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, there was an EPA grant that provided the city with money to go in and characterize and inventory these materials. We had some trouble doing that at first before we acquired the two parcels because the business owner would not allow city access to the site. And that was one of the driving reasons, among others, to acquire those parcels. So once that occurred, that process was underway. In addition to that, running parallel to that was the agreement that these materials were going to be removed and sold pursuant to his normal process.
So does he have any other operations in town?
Not that I'm aware of.
It's the city's responsibility to help protect, of course, the health and wellness of people in this town.
Yeah.
You talked about the legal aspects. It sounds like COVID interfered. What state legal federal laws prevented you all from going in? Again, as we've heard, it was a fire hazard. You all knew that. The blame has been solely on this business owner, but it seems like the city had a right to go in. Again, does the city bear partial responsibility for this?
Yeah. Again, the city, as soon as it had the legal ability to do so, began the process of remediating. And as I mentioned, it's just such a massive amount of materials that, assuming it wasn't, we would not be standing here talking to you today. So I totally agree that the city was attempting to undertake that process while still holding responsible parties accountable.
Are you in touch with the property owner right now?
No, I'm not.
You're not? Why not?
I'm not. Right now, the focus has been on the site and the health and safety of the residents. When we are past that, and hopefully that's in the near future, my focus will shift towards through a legal lens, and I'll be in contact with his legal counsel.
Have you tried to contact him?
No, not yet. I have not. Since the event.
You told me yesterday this business owner has ignored court orders and business stop orders. Why not shut him down if he is apparently thumbing his nose at court and city orders with impunity?
That was every step we were taking, and when someone makes this colossal of a mess, our intention was always not for that mess to end up in the laps of the taxpayers. It's his mess. It's been shown again and again that this is his mess, his responsibility, his money to clean it up, and it was all to avoid this type of disaster. And so everything that's ensued here remains his responsibility.
Now this has fallen in the laps of taxpayers because of firefighter overtime.
Well, yeah, and we are tracking all of that. So if we are moving into future litigation in this, we are tracking all of those costs for that reason. Everyone here is still working an active fire scene. I need to get all of them back to work. We are hoping to announce another press conference in the near future to let you know when this has been fully extinguished and when we can start a process of returning to normalcy. So we'll let you know that as soon as we have that information. And right now, we just thank you all for your time today. Thank you.